Hey, Raiders fans, let's dive straight into the latest whirlwind surrounding the Las Vegas Raiders, because the situation with Pete Carroll has officially reached a tipping point. Rumors have been swirling for weeks, and now sources are making it clear. Pete Carroll's future with the Raiders is very much in doubt. The tension in the organization is palpable, and it all centers around the decisions made this season, particularly the quarterback situation. Geno Smith, who Pete personally handpicked, has struggled mightily and has become a focal point of frustration across multiple levels of the franchise. From ownership to key players, there is growing dissatisfaction with how things have unfolded. The fact that Geno Smith's performance has fallen short not only on the field, but also in terms of public perception has created a ripple effect that has intensified scrutiny on Pete Carroll himself. Ownership, led by Mark Davis, is reportedly frustrated with the results, and it's not just about wins and losses. It's about the broader direction of the team. Moves like the firing of Chip Kelly and Tom McMahon have added to a sense of upheaval, highlighting that accountability has been uneven within the organization. While some staff members have faced consequences, others have not, creating an internal atmosphere where certain decisions, particularly around the quarterback, are heavily questioned. Pete Carroll, despite his Hall of Fame credentials and storied career, now finds himself under an unprecedented microscope, and the numbers tell a harsh story. Geno Smith, though showing moments of improvement lately, ranks near the bottom of the league in multiple key metrics. Interceptions have piled up, his quarterback rating is among the lowest of all qualifying starters, and overall, his contributions have not justified the investment or the expectations. The financial and strategic implications of having committed to him so heavily, including a contract extension and a high draft pick, have only intensified the scrutiny. The problem goes beyond individual stats. Pete Carroll was tasked with leading the Raiders to a competitive season, building trust with the locker room, and delivering results that would validate the faith the organization put in him. Instead, a combination of questionable coaching decisions, inconsistent personnel management, and tactical missteps has created a disconnect between his vision and the reality on the field. Critics argue that the instability has hampered the team's progress, with players being moved unnecessarily, key positions mismanaged, and offensive and defensive strategies frequently altered without consistency. Even the handling of the media and public relations has raised eyebrows, with certain lines of questioning around Geno Smith seemingly off-limits at times, further fueling speculation about a lack of transparency and accountability. Looking at the broader picture, it is difficult to ignore the structural issues at play. Pete Carroll's approach appears increasingly outdated in a league that prizes adaptability and innovation. His age and coaching style contribute to a sense that the franchise cannot rely on him for a long-term rebuild. The notion of trying to revitalize a team under his leadership feels increasingly impractical, especially when considering the need for a new quarterback, an improved offensive line, and more strategic draft and free agent decisions. The Raiders came into this season with considerable resources, ample salary cap space, and multiple draft picks, yet the returns on those investments have been underwhelming. Even when bright spots emerge, such as the Pro Bowl selections of Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, they stand out more as exceptions rather than evidence of a successful system. Ownership dynamics also play a significant role in the current debate. There are reports that several stakeholders and front office members are aligned in seeking a change at the head coaching position. With some owners reportedly looking toward high draft picks and embracing the potential for a fresh start, it becomes clear that the consensus within the organization is leaning toward moving on from Carroll. The internal dialogue reflects a shared understanding that keeping him in charge could hinder long-term growth and competitiveness. Even if Carroll were to consider a retirement or advisory role, the probability of him remaining as head coach into the next season is minuscule. For a franchise striving to regain stability and credibility, the calculus seems straightforward. A new direction is necessary. Fan perception and media analysis further underline the challenges Carroll faces. Observers, analysts, and even casual fans can point to failures in draft choices, free agent acquisitions, and player development, raising questions about whether the team has improved at all under his leadership. The contrast between expectations and outcomes has been stark, and the mounting frustration resonates through social media, broadcasts, and the general sentiment around Raiders Nation. Every misstep, from positional mismanagement to public relations misfires, has compounded the narrative of a season marred by poor leadership decisions. Even situations that could have been handled smoothly, such as personnel changes and player positioning, have become flashpoints that illustrate deeper organizational issues. And yet, amidst the turmoil, there are glimpses of individual excellence. Players like Brock Bowers and Max Crosby have managed to shine, demonstrating skill, determination, and professionalism despite the broader challenges. These bright spots provide some hope and remind everyone that the talent exists within the roster, even if it has not been fully harnessed. At the same time, it reinforces the notion that leadership and strategy are critical, because without the right guidance, even elite players cannot consistently translate their abilities into wins. As the season winds down, the question of accountability becomes unavoidable. Who bears the brunt of responsibility for the Raiders' struggles this year? While Geno Smith's struggles have been highly visible, the ultimate decisions, bringing him in, structuring his role, and shaping the overall strategy, fall squarely on Pete Carroll. His legacy with the team is becoming defined not by past glory, but by the challenges of the current season and the missteps that have led to widespread dissatisfaction across all levels of the organization. From front office members and ownership to players and fans, the consensus appears to be that a new approach is necessary, and the time for tough decisions is now. As we look ahead to what the Raiders' offseason could hold, the conversation inevitably shifts toward the question of leadership and how the team can rebuild in a way that makes sense both on and off the field. With Pete Carroll's tenure hanging by a thread, it is clear that whoever steps into the head coach role will face immense pressure to correct the course and restore confidence across the organization. The Raiders have all the pieces to create a competitive team, but the past season has highlighted how critical strategic vision and decision-making are, particularly when it comes to player acquisitions, draft strategies, and offensive and defensive planning. The clock is ticking, and the franchise cannot afford to repeat mistakes, because every misstep this offseason will set the team back even further. One of the most pressing needs is quarterback play. The Geno Smith experiment has been painful to watch, and it has left the Raiders with little choice but to seriously evaluate their options for 2026. The team needs a signal caller who can not only execute on the field but also lead the locker room and serve as a foundational piece for the franchise. It is no longer enough to gamble on past experience or name recognition. The next quarterback must be able to handle pressure, read defenses effectively, and maintain consistency throughout the season. The offseason strategy will need to include an aggressive plan to secure a starter through the draft or free agency, and the new coaching staff will have to be intimately involved in identifying and developing this player. Beyond the quarterback position, the Raiders must address offensive line play and overall roster depth. Pete Carroll's handling of personnel this season has been widely criticized, particularly in how he managed key positions and rotated players. Misjudgments in player positioning and utilization have cost the team valuable games, and it has also created friction within the locker room. Moving forward, a new approach that emphasizes long-term player development, accountability, and adaptability will be essential. This means not only improving current starters, but also ensuring that young talent is nurtured and positioned to contribute immediately. Draft strategy will play a huge role here, as the team possesses the resources and picks to rebuild effectively, but only if they are used wisely. The front office, which has remained largely intact despite the chaos surrounding the coaching staff, will also play a central role in shaping the future. Reports indicate that several members of the front office are eager to see a change in leadership, and this collective desire for improvement is a powerful signal that Pete Carroll's era is over. Confidence in the front office's ability to identify talent, execute trades, and manage the cap is critical, and it appears that ownership is aligned with this perspective. Any incoming head coach will need to collaborate closely with this group to ensure that the team's vision is cohesive and that mistakes from the past season are not repeated. The alignment between ownership, front office, and coaching staff will be a defining factor in whether the Raiders can rebuild quickly and effectively. Fan engagement and perception will also influence the decisions made during the offseason. Raiders Nation is passionate, informed, and vocal, and their reactions to coaching changes, draft picks, and free agent acquisitions will have a noticeable impact on the narrative surrounding the team. The pressure to make the right moves is amplified by a fan base that has endured more than 2 decades of inconsistency and disappointment. Meeting their expectations will require both transparency and results, as the margin for error is slim. The Raiders cannot afford another season where frustration outweighs excitement, because prolonged dissatisfaction could further destabilize the team and diminish confidence internally and externally. Looking at potential head coach candidates, it is clear that the Raiders will likely prioritize younger, innovative coaches who can bring a fresh perspective to the team. The goal will be to find someone who can balance strategy with player development, build trust within a locker room, and adapt quickly to the fast-moving landscape of modern football. The age and approach of Pete Carroll demonstrated that even a seasoned coach can struggle if the style is no longer compatible with the current NFL environment. Adaptability, creativity, and leadership will be key attributes for the next coach, as the organization seeks not only to win games, but to establish a sustainable blueprint for long-term success. Off the field, the Raiders also need to strengthen their organizational culture. The past season revealed cracks in communication, accountability, and alignment between staff, players, and leadership. A new coaching philosophy must emphasize transparency, clear expectations, and mutual trust. When everyone from ownership to the locker room is on the same page, it fosters a sense of cohesion that translates directly into performance on the field. Correcting cultural misalignment is just as important as improving tactics, because even the most talented roster can falter in a fragmented or disjointed environment. The challenge for the Raiders will be to instill this culture quickly, ensuring that every player and staff member understands their role in the bigger picture. Turning attention back to the roster, there are bright spots worth building around. Players like Brock Bowers and Max Crosby demonstrated that talent and dedication exist within the team, and these individuals can serve as cornerstones for the new era. By emphasizing their strengths and creating a structure that maximizes their impact, the Raiders can establish both a competitive edge and a model for how to develop other players. The offseason should focus on protecting and enhancing these key contributors while also addressing weaker positions with calculated investments and draft selections. Every move must be strategic and aimed at long-term improvement rather than quick fixes, because the mistakes of the 2025 season cannot be repeated. Finally, the narrative surrounding Pete Carroll's tenure has made one thing abundantly clear: change is inevitable. Ownership and front office alignment, combined with the pressing need for a new quarterback, the necessity to improve coaching methods, and the demand for an upgraded organizational culture, all point toward a transition that cannot be postponed. While Carroll's career and achievements are respected, the Raiders require a forward-looking approach that reflects the modern NFL landscape and maximizes the resources available to the franchise. This transition will be complex and closely scrutinized, but it is essential for the Raiders to regain credibility and competitiveness. The key takeaway is that success in the NFL is not just about legacy. It is about results, adaptability, and strategic vision, all of which will define the Raiders' next chapter. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Could the Raiders be on the brink of something truly terrifying on defense? Rumors are swirling around Las Vegas that the team has struck a deal with none other than Aaron Donald, the defensive juggernaut whose mere presence on the field seems to warp the very air around him. If true, this could be the beginning of what fans and analysts are already calling Raider Wall 2.0, a defensive front so fearsome it might redefine how offenses approach the league. Donald, a player whose resume includes multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, Pro Bowls, and a reputation for bending quarterbacks into pretzels, would instantly become the cornerstone of a defensive unit already hungry for dominance. Pair him with the Raiders' current roster, and suddenly you have a nightmare scenario for any opposing offense. A line that can collapse pockets, a pass rush that seems endless, and a secondary that can capitalize on the chaos below. Sources close to the team hint that this move isn't just about adding talent. It's a statement. Las Vegas wants to be feared again, and Donald could be the spark that ignites that transformation. The speculation doesn't stop at his individual impact. Coaches and insiders are reportedly considering entirely new schemes to maximize Donald's unique skill set, potentially turning the Raiders' defense into a chessboard of unpredictability. Blitzes, stunts, and exotic alignments could become the norm, leaving quarterbacks guessing on every snap. The league has seen dominant defenses before, but the thought of Donald leading a Raiders front line evokes comparisons to some of the most intimidating units in recent memory. Some are even whispering about the team crafting a defensive identity that could endure for years, a legacy anchored by one of the game's most unstoppable forces. Of course, all of this is still speculation. Contract details remain murky, and the Raiders have yet to release official statements confirming the deal. But the buzz is undeniable. If Aaron Donald does indeed join Las Vegas, Raider Wall 2.0 may be more than a nickname. It could be a prophecy. Fans, analysts, and even rival teams are already imagining the nightmares that could unfold when Donald takes the field alongside the silver and black. Could this be the dawn of a new era of dominance? Only time will tell, but the excitement and fear is palpable. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.